You're watching a drama, you see the chemistry, and you find out they were actually together in real life, and then the headline drops. Agencies confirm they have parted ways. Today, we're going through 17 couples who left exactly that kind of mark, the real story behind why they clicked, why it ended, and where they both are now. IU and Lee Jong Suk. And just as this list was coming together, another couple joined it. IU and Lee Jong Suk are now part of the story too, confirmed on July 10, 2026, making them the most recent breakup on this entire list and one that the internet is still processing as you watch this. They met in 2012 as co-hosts on Inkigayo, spent a decade as close friends and colleagues, and then in December 2022, Lee Jong Suk accepted the grand prize at the MBC Drama Awards and thanked an unnamed person on live television. "Thank you for always being so wonderful. I want you to know that I've liked you very much for a very long time." Both agencies confirmed the relationship the very next day. The slow burn took 10 years. The relationship lasted 4. Breakup rumors surfaced once before in May 2025 and were immediately denied. This time, both EDM Entertainment and Ace Factory issued the same statement simultaneously. It is true that they have broken up. They have decided to remain good colleagues. Dispatch cited increasingly busy schedules pulling them apart. Neither side said anything more. IU is preparing a new album and a September concert at Goyang Sports Complex. Lee Jong Suk is heading into the global Disney Plus release of The Remarried Empress. Jung Ho Hyun and Lee Dong Hui. They started dating in 2015. She was a rising fashion model. He was gaining serious traction post-Reply 1988, and for nearly a decade they were the definition of low-key. Art galleries, indie film screenings, quietly supporting each other's work without ever making the relationship a public performance. It was the kind of partnership that looked genuinely sustainable. Then Squid Game happened. Jung Ho Hyun went from industry figure to global phenomenon almost overnight. Louis Vuitton ambassador, international press circuits, a life that moved at a completely different speed. Lee Dong-hui stayed grounded in his Korean film career. 9 years of shared creative space slowly became 9 years of diverging trajectories. By the time they confirmed the split in November 2024, it wasn't a scandal. It was just two people who had grown into versions of themselves that no longer fit the same frame. That's its own kind of sad. But while that split had time to develop, the next one barely had time to begin. Uee and Lee Sang Yoon. They went public early in 2016, and the perfect match energy was immediate. Two wholesome, hardworking actors, good images, good timing. The media loved it. Fans projected a lot onto it. And that, in hindsight, was probably the problem. They broke up only months later. The honest version is that the foundation wasn't there yet. Uee was deep in the idol-turned-actress grind, always performing for a public that scrutinized her every move. Lee Sang Yoon was a private, serious actor who moved at a completely different pace. Once the initial excitement of being a celebrity couple wore off, there wasn't enough underneath it to hold. The public pressure arrived before the relationship did. It ended before it really had a chance to start. A very different kind of pressure destroyed the next couple, and that one came entirely from the outside. Min Ho Bae Suzy. Dispatch confirmed them in 2015 after spotting them together in London, and the reaction was exactly what you'd expect when two of the biggest names in Korean entertainment are suddenly a unit. The internet treated it like a merger of empires. That framing turned out to be part of the problem. They were never really allowed to just be a couple. Every public appearance was analyzed. Every schedule conflict was documented, and by the time Lee Min Ho's mandatory military enlistment was approaching in 2017, the relationship had become more of a logistical and image management challenge than a personal sanctuary. They confirmed the breakup quietly before he enlisted. The official reason was busy schedules. The real reason was that no relationship survives being treated like a national asset. But if external pressure brought that couple down, the next one was destroyed by it in a matter of weeks. Jae Wook and Karina. When photos leaked in early 2024 confirming they were together, the online reaction from certain fan communities was immediate and vicious. We're talking coordinated harassment, threats, and the kind of organized fandom pressure that treats a celebrity's personal life as a breach of contract. They split after 5 weeks. Not because anything went wrong between them, but because the environment made it impossible for anything to go right. They couldn't go on a normal date without it becoming an incident. The relationship was being treated as a betrayal by people who had never met either of them. It's one of the most clear-cut examples of how fandom culture can kill something real before it has any chance to become what it might have been. 5 weeks. That's all they got. At least that story stayed contained. The next one became a very public, very painful unraveling that took years. Ahn Bo Hyun and Koo-hae Sun. They met on the set of Blood in 2015, married a year later, and it looked like the fast-moving fairy tale that sometimes works out. It didn't. What followed was one of the most painful and public relationship breakdowns in recent Korean entertainment history, not because of what happened, but because of how it happened. The 2019 divorce played out across social media in real time. Koo-hae Sun posted screenshots. Ahn Bo Hyun issued statements. Accusations of emotional neglect, financial strain, and incompatible expectations were aired publicly in a way that left both of them exposed. What came through clearly was that two people who had moved very fast into a very visible marriage had never built the foundation to survive a difficult season. The perfect couple image didn't just crack, it collapsed completely, and the audience watched every piece fall. Now, quick pause. Which couple on this list did you actually root for the hardest? Drop them in the comments. I want to see who comes up the most. Ahn Bo Hyun and Jisoo. She was arguably the most globally visible female idol on the planet at the time. He was a rising drama star. They confirmed in the summer of 2023, and the reaction was enormous, partly because of her profile, partly because nobody had seen it coming at all. They lasted about 2 months in the public eye. The reason wasn't a scandal or a falling out, it was logistics taken to an impossible extreme. Jisoo was on a global schedule that had her on a different continent every few weeks. Ahn Bo Hyun was mid-production on multiple Korean projects. Trying to maintain the basic presence a relationship requires when those two calendars are running simultaneously turned out to be unworkable. They parted as friends. That part at least appears to be true. But while that couple barely had time to begin, the next one had years of real friendship underneath it, and it still wasn't enough. Joo-Hyuk and Lee Sung-Kyung. They were friends before they were anything else, both models under the same agency, both transitioning into acting, both cast in weightlifting fairy Kim Bok-joo, with chemistry so natural it felt like cheating. When the photos confirmed they were dating in April 2017, fans felt vindicated. 4 months later, both agencies announced they had parted ways due to busy schedules. The friendship was the foundation and also the casualty. Once the drama ended and the promotion cycle stopped, what they were left with was the complicated reality of two people trying to be a couple when they'd been best friends first, and the pressure of public expectations sitting on top of all of it. They chose to protect the friendship by ending the relationship. Whether that worked or not, neither has said publicly. The non-Lee shippers are still out there. The matching accessories discourse never fully stopped. The next couple had 7 solid years together and still couldn't survive what came at the end. Yoon K-sung and Honey Lee. 7 years. No major scandals, just two mature, grounded people who traveled together, grew up together, and seemed like exactly the kind of couple that makes it. When they confirmed their breakup in 2020, the industry didn't know what to do with it. The clearest explanation is also the hardest one. Sometimes two people who are good for each other for a long time stop being the right fit for what comes next. The conversation about marriage and long-term futures appears to have surfaced, and the answer on both sides wasn't the same one. Yoon K-sang has since married and started a family. Honey Lee has continued to build one of the most quietly powerful acting careers in the industry. Both chapters look good. The one they shared together was just complete. And the next couple also put in 7 years, which makes how it ended feel even harder. Yoon Hyun Min and Baek Jin Hee. They met on a set, stayed together through 7 years of overlapping filming schedules, and managed something rare, a long-term relationship in Korean entertainment that never became tabloid fodder. No dispatch photos in inconvenient locations, no cryptic Instagram posts, just two actors quietly building something. They split in 2023. The statement was simple. They had grown apart. What that actually means, after 7 years and your late 30s, is that the people you were when you started are not the people you've become. And at some point, you realize you've been holding on to the shape of something rather than what it actually is. It was an amicable ending to a relationship that was, by every available account, a good one. That's not nothing. It's also sad. Now, if that breakup was clean, number 7 was also quiet, but the reasons behind it were harder to ignore. Lee Jun and Jung So Min. They met on Father is Strange in 2017 and kept the relationship as private as any public figures in this industry have managed. Rarely seen together publicly, minimal social media traces, the kind of discretion that tends to earn respect. They dated for 3 years. The 2020 breakup happened while both were in the middle of production cycles, and they both moved quietly into their next projects almost immediately. The honest reality of long-distance acting careers is that you spend months at a time fully inhabiting a different life with a different cast, and sometimes the person at home starts to feel like the more distant world. It wasn't a dramatic ending, it was a gradual one. Those are sometimes harder to explain and just as hard to get over. But gradual is one thing. The next breakup happened in 8 months, and the age gap was the whole story. Go-Eun and Shin Kyun. A 17-year age gap, a shared obsession with scuba diving, and a relationship that felt unpretentious for two people who could have made it a public moment. They went public, they were low-key about it, and 8 months later they confirmed it was over. The gap that ended them wasn't the age, it was the life stage. Go-Eun was at the peak of her ascending career. Every project bigger than the last, her world still expanding rapidly. Shin Kyun was an established veteran who had already moved through those phases. The rhythms of their lives pulled in fundamentally different directions, and unlike some couples who can bridge that with enough time and effort, these two ran out of runway before they got there. And if an 8-month relationship felt like a loss, the next one ending hit an entirely different way. Ryu Jun Yeol and Hyeri. They met at the Reply 1988 script reading on July 8, 2015, played the couple that didn't get their ending on screen, and then went and built a real relationship off it for 8 years. Confirmed publicly in 2017, 0 major scandals across the entire run. Most people had simply accepted that the next headline would be a wedding announcement. The breakup was confirmed quietly on November 13, 2023. Both agencies kept it brief. And then, 2 days later, Han So-hee was photographed attending Ryu Jun Yeol's art exhibition. 4 months after that, Japanese tourists spotted Ryu Jun Yeol and Han So-hee at a pool in Hawaii. Hyeri posted 2 words on Instagram, "This is funny." Han So-hee posted back, "I also find this funny." Within hours, Han So-hee confirmed a relationship with Ryu Jun Yeol on her Naver blog. Ryu Jun Yeol's agency confirmed they had started dating in early 2024, and the entire internet went into meltdown over the timeline. The Han So-hee and Ryu Jun Yeol relationship lasted 2 weeks before collapsing under the weight of all of it. Both Han So-hee and Hyeri eventually issued public apologies. Hyeri's was measured and dignified. When she appeared on U Quiz on the Block and was asked about everything, she said simply, "I feel good." Then she danced. That one moment said more than any statement could have. Lee Jung-gi and Jun Hae-bin. They spent years inside a rumor cycle. People had been connecting them since at least 2013, and finally went public in 2017. For fans who had been quietly rooting for this for years, the confirmation felt like a win. They lasted 4 months. The issue wasn't what happened between them, it was what happened around them. The confirmation turned them into a subject of daily scrutiny, every public appearance overanalyzed, every movement tracked. Lee Jung-gi has always been intensely private about his personal life, and the reality of being publicly coupled at that scale appears to have been incompatible with how he needed to live. They ended it before it could do more damage. The mystery that fans had built around them for years didn't survive contact with the public gaze. It rarely does. And then there's number 3, a couple so visible that even their ending became everyone's business. Lee Dong-gun and Jang Ye-eun. In the mid-2000s, this was one of the most visible celebrity pairings in Korean entertainment. Constant ad campaigns, variety appearances, a public profile that made their relationship feel like it belonged to everyone who was watching. That was the whole problem. When you are young, still forming your identity, and simultaneously being treated as one half of a national couple, the relationship becomes something you perform rather than something you live. Private disagreements don't exist. Normal friction becomes public news. They were too visible, too early, without the experience or the privacy to protect what they were trying to build. The relationship didn't fail because of who they were, it failed because of what it was being asked to be. And then there's number 2, the one that stopped the country. Joong-Ki and Hye-Kyo. Descendants of the Sun filming wrapped in 2016. The Song couple confirmed later that year. They married in October 2017 at the Shilla Hotel in a ceremony that felt less like a wedding and more like a national event, the kind of thing that gets covered on news programs, where the guest list becomes its own story. For a brief window, they were the most celebrated couple in the Korean wave. The divorce filing came in June 2019, less than 2 years after the wedding. The official reason was personality differences, and nothing further has ever been confirmed publicly by either side. Joong-Ki filed. Song Hye-Kyo attended a brand event in China days after the announcement, completely composed, thanking fans for their support while the internet collapsed around her. She has never elaborated. He has since remarried and started a family. She has reinvented herself through increasingly dark, complex roles, and by every visible measure is doing exactly fine. What actually happened between them remains, and will probably remain, entirely theirs. And the next couple announced just weeks ago. Still being processed, Soo-Young and Kyung-Ho. They were in the same department of theater and film at Chungang University. He was a senior, she was a junior. They started dating quietly in September 2012. By January 2014, the relationship was public knowledge. What followed was 14 years that the industry used as a reference point every time someone asked whether long-term celebrity relationships were possible. Military service, global tours, career peaks, 0 scandals, a dog named Ho-young whose name combined letters from both of theirs. The signs appeared on June 9, 2026. Fans noticed they had unfollowed each other on Instagram. Within hours, both agencies confirmed. Soo-young's statement, they have decided to remain good colleagues. Kyung-Ho's agency, as it is a private matter, it is difficult to provide further details. The leading speculation, never confirmed, is that 14 years eventually brought the marriage conversation to a point where their answers weren't the same. He had said in interviews when asked about marriage, "I think I should do it when the time comes," and then added that he hadn't discussed it in detail. That quote has circulated constantly since June 9. What's confirmed? She's preparing for a new KBS2 drama. He's filming a romantic comedy where he plays a news anchor. They are both, by all appearances, continuing. It just stings in a specific way when the couple everyone held up as proof that it could work turns out to be just as human as everyone else. Which couple on this list are you still not over, and which breakup do you think the industry has never properly talked about? If you need something to restore your faith after all of this, go check out 13 K-drama actors who have been happily married for over 10 years. It's the exact palate cleanser this list earns you.